Okay, we'll start now. Last week we covered Jainism and Indian philosophy. That was first topic, as we have scheduled. Today we will be starting Buddhism. Now, Buddhism is a big chapter, basically quite important also, and it has a number of topics. So we would like to cover this topic in 2 weeks, this week and next week. Uh, Basically, we will complete the overview of Buddhism today, and then out of 5, 6 important questions or subtopics in Buddhism, one or two we will cover this week, that is today. Remaining we will cover next week, and Buddhism questions also we will discuss next week, so that in 2 weeks we will be able to cover comfortably Buddhism. Now, first, as usual, we do is last week's questions we take for discussion, and we give the model answers. So now let us see what was the question and what can be the model answer for that. Last week, as I told, we covered Jainism. We discussed a number of topics. Now the question was pertaining to Jaina theory of Saptavangina. Now this is basically epistemological theory of Jainism, and it is basically sevenfold prediction or sevenfold logical framework basically. But this epistemological theory is rooted in their metaphysics, that is Anekantavad. So Anekantavad actually in Jainism represents metaphysics, that is ontology, and Syadvad or Saptavangina represents epistemology. Now, as is clear that this is sevenfold logic, it is different from basically classical binary logic. Classical binary logic is either something exists or doesn't exist. So yes or no, that is binary logic. True or false, yes or no, existence or non-existence. This is binary logic basically. But here it's sevenfold logic. So 7 conditional truth values basically. So if we see this, because earlier, while discussing Jainism in brief, we have already seen these 7 conditional value truths, because from certain standpoint, those statements are true. That's what Jaina logic says. So, their point of view is that it captures multiplicity and contextuality of the truth. They say that no truth is absolute, basically. Every truth is relative, contextual, and therefore it has to be stated in such a way that it also appears that it's only relative and conditional. It's not an absolute truth. Now, let us see what is the core structure of Saptavangina, because this is what we have said in the introduction. Now, core structure of Saptavangina, which is the main part of the answer actually. Now, Saptavangina posits that any proposition can be evaluated through 7 conditional perspectives. So there are basically different perspectives, and for any statement or for any idea or for any truth, there has to be 7 perspectives. So this is derived from a combination of 3 fundamental truth conditions. Now, what are those 3 fundamental truth conditions? One is existence, another is non-existence, and then another is indescribability. So these 3 fundamental conditions in different combinations make basically sevenfold logic. and the sevenfold judgment, and this is called Saptabhangina basically. So now let us see what are those sevenfold judgments. Earlier we have seen, last week we have seen already, but let us see in this answer how we'll include that. See, these are seven. First is Syad Asti. This is Sanskrit word. Syad Nasti. Then this is D, not N. Then Syad Asti Cha Nasti Cha. Syad Avaktavyam. Avaktavyam means indescribable. So from certain point it exists, or from certain point it is indescribable. So this is what avaktavyam. Syad asti cha avaktavyam. Syad nasti cha avaktavyam. Syad asti cha nasti cha avaktavyam. So basically these are 7 standpoints for any judgment. Now this allows Jainism to reconcile conflicting judgments without collapsing into contradiction by anchoring that each judgment within a context-specific standpoint. So as I told, I mean, for them, each judgment is relative, each judgment is contextual, no judgment is absolute. So this Saptabhangina theory basically helps in Jainism to state that standpoint. Now, in this Saptabhangina theory, what is the role of Nyaya? Let us understand that, because briefly we will have to mention that also in the answer. Now, role of Nyaya. Nyaya in Jain epistemology refers to partial modes of cognition. So this is the meaning of Nyaya basically. Partial modes of cognition. It asserts that every judgment about reality is necessarily conditioned by the cognitive standpoint. So basically, again, same thing is coming up. Every judgment is relative. So that is called Nyayavad basically. So Nyayavad is main concept of Jainism, and Saptabhangina is actually vehicle of that Nyayavad. To express that Nyayavad, the Saptabhangina vehicle has come. So Jainism asserts that every judgment about reality is necessarily conditioned by the cognitive standpoint. For example, they have given example, let us say a clay pot may be said to exist materially, but not exist if reduced to its constituent atoms. So this is basically example which Jainism gives. For example, a clay pot said to exist materially, but not exist if reduced to the constituent atoms. Now, these viewpoints are not contradictory, but contextually valid. So again and again, these terms will be emphasized: contextual validity, relative validity, not absolute. So all these things we have to mention in theory of Saptabhangina and Nyayavad also. And basically, but here we are discussing Saptabhangina, so therefore Nyaya has been described in very brief. Now, what are philosophical justification for this theory of Saptabhangina? Because Jaina definitely gives philosophical justification. Now, this theory addresses the ontological plurality and epistemic limitations. So, what is ontological plurality? Anekantavad. So that is basically ontological plurality. Then epistemic limitations. Epistemic limitations means the limits in knowing the things. So limits of knowledge basically. That is epistemic limitations of human cognition. Now let us say what are ontological bases. Now Jaina says reality is composed of substance and modes, and there are multiple. So Saptabhangina accommodates both permanence means substance, and flux, that is modes. So both modes and substance are accommodated in Saptabhangina theory. Now, what is justification from epistemology? Epistemic justification. Now, human perception is just distorted by karmic obscurantations, that is kasai, they call in Sanskrit, making complete knowledge rare. Syadvad promotes intellectual humility, asserting only conditional certainty. So this is knowledge is conditional, knowledge is relative, knowledge is contextual, all means actually same thing. Now, what is ethical justification for that or ethical orientation? It reflects ahimsa, non-violence in thought, avoiding dogmatic absolutism. So Jainism actually called intellectual ahimsa, basically. So they, basically ahimsa in thought as well. So this is ethical orientation for Jaina theory. In fact, if you some of you might be studying ethics paper also. So there Jaina theory is quoted, or Jaina moral theory, ethical theory is quoted as intellectual ahimsa. Basically, they promote even non-violence, even in thought. Basically, so this is what Syadvad or Saptvanginay or Nayavad promotes here. Now, what are the criticism? I mean, definitely this theory is there, but there are various critics also who have expressed their views. And then accordingly, Jaina philosophers or theorists have responded also. They are given answers also. So now let us see what are the criticism. Now, and so one simple chart has been made. What are the criticism and which are the philosophers associated with that? And what is the response by the Jaina philosophers? So now first is Nagarjuna and Kumaril Bhatt. They say that this is self-contradiction. Kumaril Bhatt is Mimamsa philosopher, Nagarjuna is from Buddhism. So they say that this theory is self-contradictory. How can existence and non-existence coexist? Jaina reply, they apply different nayas or standpoints, not in the same absolute frame. They say that this is a relative thing I am talking. We are not talking absolute. And from different contexts, the different conclusions come. So that's what Jaina replies. Then Mandan Mishra, another, he is basically from Vedanta. He says epistemic relativism, that each Syadvad itself uncertain. So basically, now what Syadvad says, all knowledge is relative. That's what their concept is. So he raises the issue that then by that definition, even Syadvad also becomes relative, and this knowledge itself is relative. Now here, again Jainas reply, see, Syat implies conditional relativity, not mere doubt or probability. Jainism does not see. So this is what Jaina replies. Now, Shankaracharya, he has raised another point, need for absoluteness. So this is raised by Shankaracharya. There has to be some absolute knowledge. Then only relative knowledge is valuable. That's what his point is. And this is raised by Shankaracharya. Now, what Jainism reply says, Jainism does not seek metaphysical absolutes, but practical contextual truths. That's what Jaina reply says. That again, basically, what Jainism says, no, we are not talking of absolute truth. We are only talking of practical and contextual truths. Therefore, absolute truth is not required to be known. That's what their reply is. Now, another point is redundancy. Dharmakirti, another philosopher, has raised this, that last three predications are superfluous. What are the last three? If you see last three is Syad asti cha avaktavyam, Syad nasti cha avaktavyam, Syad asti cha nasti cha avaktam. So 5, 6, 7. So what Dharmakirti says, that these last three predications are superfluous. They, in his opinion, they are not required actually, because first four itself cover everything, even if knowledge is taken as a relative knowledge. So now what Jaina replies is, the sevenfold logic captures finer distinctions absent in fourfold frameworks. This is what Jaina replies. Then Gaudapada, another philosopher, he is saying that this is a very fragmented kind of knowledge, because no unifying principle is visible here. So this is same as what Shankaracharya says, that no need for absoluteness is there. So same thing he says. Gaudapada says that no unifying principle is there. So here it is fragmented knowledge and not a total knowledge or absolute knowledge. So what Jayana says, reality is an organic multiplicity, not reducible to singular categories. So this is what Jayana's explanation for that. Now let us see what are the comparisons from and modern parallels, basically, particularly Western philosophy. So first comparison is, I mean, if we can compare from quantum superposition, like uh, Schrodinger's cat, reality can simultaneously occupy contradictory states akin to Syadwad's contextual predicates. So basically, here from quantum superposition, he gets, I mean, Syadwad gets some support, basically. This is modern theory. Now, what is Ludwig Wittgenstein language games? Let us see that how they view this Saptavangina theory. Meaning varies with uses, context akin to Naya approach to truth. So Wittgenstein also says the same thing. Yes, meaning varies with the context and uses. So therefore, Saptavangina theory is appropriate. So he also supports uh, Jana theory of Saptavangina. Then another modern logical logicians, Jan Lukasevich, multi-valued logic. He says that Syadwad anticipates non-binary logical systems. Because see, now in modern logic, they have come out that logic can be other than binary also. So what they say that Syadwad Jaina anticipated that non-binary logical system. Binary logical system, again I will say, repeat, yes, no, exists, doesn't exist, true, false. This is binary logic. So beyond binary logic also, basically multiple or multi-valued logic is there. So that was what modern conception. So they say that yes, Syadwad has anticipated that. So therefore, I mean, they are basically a philosophy or epistemology much in advance of their times. That's what their comment is. Then Gödel's incompleteness theorem. What? So now this again, even formal systems have limits to their truth claims, affirming the Jain emphasis on epistemic humility. So again, he also supports, yes, because Jaina makes the knowledge relative. So which means that epistemic humility is there. Epistemic means knowledge. Again, wherever epistemology or epistemic or all these things come up, it means knowledge basically. So knowledge or obtaining knowledge. So in that process, they have made a very modest kind of approach. That's what Jaina has done it. Now, what are critical evaluations of this theory of Saptavangina? Let us see that. The strengths. I mean, what are the strengths? It anticipates multi-valued logic and quantum epistemology. So this we have already seen. This is modern parallels basically. It promotes dialogue and tolerance in diverse or polarized settings. This is again important. Ethically grounded in ahimsa, making it non-violent philosophy of reasoning. So this, as I've already told, this is very important for ethics paper of GS4 ethics paper also. So because there it is called intellectual ahimsa. So here same thing has been mentioned, that dialogue and tolerance in diverse or polarized settings, then ethically grounded in ahimsa, making in a non-violent philosophy of reasoning. Then what are its limitations basically? Let us see that. Ontologically minimalists. So this is one important. It lacks metaphysical grounding, as critics like Sankara point out. Because Shankaracharya has pointed out there is no absolute. Everything is relative here. So this itself is a deficiency in ontological sense, basically. Ontological means metaphysical sense. It's a deficiency. So lacks metaphysical grounding, as critics like Sankara pointed out, as there is no absolute available here in Jainism. Then cognitive complexity, too subtle for daily reasoning. Because now daily reasoning or day-to-day reasoning or practical life reasoning, nobody uses this sevenfold logic basically. So usually binary logic is used, or maximum three, or I mean, that's all. I mean, but sevenfold logic, it's very rare for any use. Now, then again, another criticism is cultural embeddedness, presupposes familiarity with Jaina categories and interpretive frameworks. So this is again an important thing, because if somebody believes in Jaina Ekantavad or Nekantavad, then only they will believe in this. Otherwise, it's difficult because it presupposes familiarity with Jaina categories. Now, but what are its significance and relevance? Let us see that. Now, South Bangina remains deeply relevant, obviously, as we have seen already, because uh, in an era of information overload and ideological polarization, by promoting contextual reasoning, plurality of truths, and epistemic humility, it offers a model of inclusive deliberation. Now, these kinds of terms or words, if you use in your answer or even your ethics paper, or even in your interview, uh, this will be quite impressive. So, in fact, I keep on repeating to all the students, please do have a notebook, digital or otherwise, of some 100 or 150 or 200 important terms from philosophy or ethics, terms as well as phrases, words and phrases, which you may use in your answers also, you may use in your ethics paper, in your essay paper, or even other GS paper, as well as in your interview also. So this is important. So inclusive deliberation in law, science, and intercultural dialogue. It's not just a logic, it's a philosophy of respectful coexistence. So Jaina philosophy is basically a philosophy of respectful coexistence. So this completes our Saptbangin I have described in detail, but then you have to uh, take out the points from this and prepare your own notes, and then accordingly be ready. If the question comes for 150 words or 225 words or 300 words, depending on actual exam. I mean, what kind of question comes, whether 10 marks, 15 marks, or 20 marks, you should be able to reply. Now we will start Buddhism. As I told earlier, Buddhism we will be covering in basically 2 weeks. So this week we will take up general theories or general philosophy of Buddhism. We will briefly understand each and every point in Buddhism, and then in detail we will start taking up the issues which we want to study in detail. But before that, as I keep on telling in every lecture, let us because unless we keep our syllabus in mind and previous year's questions in mind, our study will not be focused. So now let us see what is the philosophy paper syllabus and what is mentioned for Buddhism in that. So if we see here, uh, for Buddhism, schools of Buddhism, it's mentioned. Let us see that. See, this is schools of Buddhism: Pratit Samutpad, Kshanikvad, and Nairatmavad. So these are the three theories mentioned for schools of Buddhism. Now, these are all the three theories are very, very important. But if you see the questions and topics, they are much more than three, because uh, uh, even though it is not mentioned here, because the questions have come on Nirvana also. So accordingly, we will see the previous year's question also, there we will understand. So this is in paper one, philosophy syllabus, schools of Buddhism, Pratyut Samutpad, Kshanikvad, and Nairatmavad. These three important topics are mentioned here. Now, what are the topic-wise questions? Let us see Buddhism in previous 12 years question papers I have analyzed, and let us see what are the various topics which have been asked. Now, obviously, first Pratyut Samutpad is very, very important, because if you see second question, Pratyut Samutpad, so all these are variants of Pratyut Samutpad. And in how many years it has been asked? If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of 12 years, 7 years it has come. So almost every year it's coming, as simple as that. And if you see 2024 it has come, 2023 it has come. Obviously, wordings may change here and there a little, but still very, very important. So Pratyut Samutpad topic is very important. And then if you see other topics also are asked, but for example, Nagarjuna's concept of Sunita is asked. This is twice it has been asked. One is 2014 and then 2013. So this has been asked 2 times. Then again, epistemological difference between Sautrantric and Vaibhasik schools. Then Buddhist notion of impermanence. Then Buddhists accept the possibility of rebirth. How does the Buddhist accept the possibility of rebirth in absence of an eternal soul? Then Buddhist Nairatmavad. Nairatmavad is again an important topic. If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times it has been asked. Then Kshanikvad, again very important topic. This if you see 2003, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2017, 2016. So if you see, this has been asked again 6 times. Then role of Chatuskoti in explaining nature of reality. Then nature of reality according to Madhyamikas. Denial of existence of external world by Yogachar Buddhist. Then Buddhist concept of self in terms of Panchaskandhas and concept of liberation in absence of soul. So these are the previous years, 12 years questions which have been asked in Buddhism. Now, after going through, let us see what are the important topics in Buddhism which we should focus on. So I have identified, let us say 6 topics in Buddhism. So these are 6 topics. First is Pratyut Samutpad, obviously, because it has been asked 7 times, we have seen already. Then the concept of Sunyata. Then Anattavad or Nairatmavad or Anatmavad. All 3 are same. So Anattavad or Anatmavad or Nairatmavad. All 3 means same. So this is also again very important. Then Kshanikvad. This is again important. Then Antakriya Kanitva. So this is again another important theory which they have given. And then Nirvana or Nibbana. So these 6 topics we will be studying in detail. So what we will do is we will first go through the main philosophy of Buddhism, what are various concepts or ideas or topics, subtopics in Buddhism, we will understand in brief. And then these 6 topics we will try to study in detail. So this should be our strategy, and this will be our strategy. So now let us start the Buddhism. I have already told Buddhism we will be covering in 2 weeks. So this week I will be having Buddhism part 1, I will say. So this is Buddhism part 1, which will be starting today, and then next week we'll complete total Buddhism. See, I mean, this Buddhism was founded by Gautam Buddha. I mean, all of us know in 5th century BC, basically. Now, what are its core teachings? Because this introduction you can read yourself. What are core teachings? So, first important teaching of Buddhism is 4 noble truths. They have given 4. He has given 4 noble truths. Now, these are the doctrinal foundations of all Buddhist schools. Now, Buddhism has different schools. I mean, we will see what are the schools and how different branches are there in Buddhism. But all schools believe in these 4 noble truths. What are 4 noble truths? First, that is dukkha or suffering. So, first truth is that life is inherently unsatisfactory. Even pleasures are temporary and hence tied to pain. So this is what first truth of Buddhism, that there is pain in even pleasure, basically. So that's what Buddhism says. Now, what is second truth? Samudaya, that is cause of suffering. So what is cause of suffering? The root of suffering is craving, that is Trishna. Clinging, that is Upadan. And ignorance, that is Avidya. So 3 roots of suffering: Trishna, Upadan, and Avidya. Now, I keep on telling, see, while writing philosophy questions, answers, as well as even ethics answers, now, if the main philosopher is basically Indian philosophy, and if you are able to remember the Sanskrit words, please do write that. If Western philosophy, then sometimes Greek words will be there, sometimes Latin words will be there. If you are able to remember, please do write that. That is going to fetch you little better marks, because you are writing something extra other than other candidates. But then if you remember, because don't waste time on that, because if you don't write content and or write only this thing, then also you will not get anything. But yes, besides content, if you add these words, then you are definitely going to get better marks. So second truth is that root of suffering, that is cause of suffering, is Trishna, Upadan, and Avidya. Now, third truth is Nirodha, that is cessation. Liberation from suffering is possible. This is third truth of Buddha. Fourth is Magga, that is path. The eightfold path leads to cessation of suffering. So this eightfold path leads to cessation of so these are four truths of Buddhism basically. First, there is dukkha, or there is suffering. Second, there is cause of suffering. Third, cessation of suffering is possible. Fourth, eightfold path is there for cessation of suffering. Now, what is the eightfold path? Let us say, this is second topic we come to in Buddhism. So, eightfold path, that is Ashtangik Marg. That is called Ashtangik Marg. This is again Sanskrit words only. So, this is divided in three domains. So, this eightfold path is divided in three domains. First is wisdom. Second is ethical conduct. And third is mental discipline. So, wisdom means prajna. So, what is prajna? Right view, that is samyak drishti. Right intention, that is samyak sankalp. Then ethical conduct, that is shila. What are they? Right speech, samyak vak. Right action, samyak karmant. Right livelihood, samyak ajiva. And then we come to mental discipline, third domain, that is samadhi. Right effort, samyak vyayam. Right mindfulness, samyak smriti. Right concentration, samyak samadhi. So this is basically eightfold path, noble eightfold path, Ashtangik Marg, which is the path of liberation, you can say, or path of cessation of suffering, you can say. So this is what Buddhism has. Second subtopic of Buddhism, which we are studying here. Now, third, let us see what are the central philosophical doctrines in Buddhism. Now, first is Pratyut Samutpad. This is very important. We have seen also, and this is in the direct syllabus, and at least every year question comes from this, or every alternate year definitely comes. So, Pratyut Samutpad means dependent origination. Now, central doctrine, this is important, central doctrine of Buddhism. Almost whole of their philosophy is based on this. So, this being, that becomes. The meaning is Pratyut Samutpad, literal meaning is this being, that becomes. So, this is their literal meaning basically, this being, that becomes. Now, everything is conditional, interdependent, and impermanent. This also means that everything is conditional, interdependent, and impermanent. Now, it denies, again, third point to understand this Pratyut Samutpad is, it denies both eternalism. What is eternalism? Satkaryavad, and nihilism, Uchchedavad. So, this is a midway doctrine basically. It is midway between eternalism and nihilism. So, that also we should understand that eternalism, Satkaryavad, which means permanence basically. Nihilism, Uchchedvad means nothing exists. So, basically, it is midway. Neither it says permanence, nor it says nothing exists. It says no, it's basically dependent origination. This being, that comes out, or that becomes. Now, it also explains the Dvadas Nidana, 12 links of causation. Now, this Pratyut Samutpad theory is basis of Dvadas Nidana, that is 12 links of causation that govern the cycle of birth and death. Now, cycle of birth and death is governed by Dvadas Nidana, that is 12 links of causation, and Pratyut Samutpad is basis of that. Now, what are basically this Dvadas Nidana, that we will see subsequently, but the main point is that Buddhism has come out with 12 links of causation. Some before birth, some after birth. So, like that, there are 12, and all are linked basically. So, one after the other, it comes up. So, as Pratyut Samutpad says, this being, that becomes. So, accordingly, that is in a very circular chain, it is linked. All these 12 links are of causation are linked with each other in a circular way. Now, this theory of Pratyut Samutpad also provides metaphysical basis for other doctrines, other Buddhist doctrines basically. So, what are other Buddhist doctrines? That is, first is Anityavad, impermanence. Second is Kshanikvad, momentariness. Third is Naratmavad, that is no self. Fourth is Shunyata or emptiness. So these are other main doctrines of Buddhism. And Pratyut Samutpad provides basis for all these doctrines. Now, this we have understood in brief. In detail, Pratyut Samutpad, we will take it up because I'm going to explain today only this very detailed Pratyut Samutpad was very important. So here in brief, let us understand this. Now, second doctrine is Kshanikvad, that is momentariness. Now, what is Kshanikvad and momentariness? Everything exists only for a single moment, Kshana. So everything exists only for a single moment. This is the doctrine of Kshanikvad. Now, what are other components of this doctrine? Reality is a flux, that is Santana, with no static substance. This is what the second point in Kshanikvad. Third is, it is supported by Arth Kriya Kritva, casual efficiency. So Arth Kriya Kritva, that is called casual efficiency. It is supported. The Kshanikvad is supported by casual efficiency. Only that which can produce an effect is real. So this is what it means. Then it denies permanent existence to matter, consciousness or self. So in Buddhism, neither self is permanent, nor conscious is permanent, nor matter is permanent. So it denies permanent existence to all the three, basically. So this is basically doctrine of Kshanikvad. Now let us see what is the doctrine of Naratmavad, that is no soul doctrine, or Anattavad or Anatmavad. As I told, all the three are almost same. So the doctrine says that there is no eternal unchanging self. That is Atma. There is no eternal unchanging self or Atma. The so-called self is a bundle of 5 skandhas, aggregates. So soul is a bundle, or self is a bundle of 5 skandhas. What are they? First is Rupa, that is form. Second is Vedana, that is feeling. Third is Samjna, that is perception. Fourth is Samsara, that is mental disposition. Fifth is Vijnana, that is consciousness. So these are 5 skandhas. And soul is, or self is, a bundle of these 5 skandhas. So now Naratmavad also is explained using analogies like chariot. So Milind Panand, one philosopher, he has explained this with using the analogy of chariot, because it has different parts. So accordingly, all parts put together make chariot. So accordingly, these 5 skandhas put together or bundling will make soul, basically. So that is what is, and this anyway Naratmavad we will again discuss in detail. Here in very brief, we are just understanding. It ensures moral responsibility through causal continuity, not substance permanence. Now, this is a negative point also, which is raised by many critics in the Buddhism also. When there is no permanence of soul, how moral responsibility will be there? Because Buddhism says, at this moment you are something else, next moment you will be something else. So how, moral responsibility will come up? Because moral responsibility requires that the same person or same self or same soul continues to even do the work as well as feel the result also. But here, when there is no permanence, so for that Buddhism tries to explain that though there is no causal continuity, our causal continuity is there, but it's not through permanence of substance. So that's what they say. But there is a problem which we will see in criticism of this Naratmavad subsequently when we come up. Now, what are major schools of Buddhism? Because as I told earlier also, Buddhism has different schools. Now, let us start major school. First is Hinayana. That is Theravada, or realist orientation school, they call it. So, Theravada or Hinayana, realist oriental school. And this school believes external and internal realities. It is focused on individual liberation. Then it also has two basically kinds of realities which they take external and internal. So that's what is defined here. Vaibhasik, that is direct perception of external objects, is called vaibhasik. And then sautantrik, that is external objects known via inference. Mind perceives only representation, is called sautantrik. So basically, this is a realist school of Buddhism. It is called Hinayana. And second school is Mahayana. So Mahayana or idealist relativistic orientation. So this is second school. And in Indian context, Mahayana basically is more important. Hinayana is not much found in Indian context. But yes, while studying the theoretical thing, we will definitely study that. So Indian context, Mahayana or idealistic relativistic orientation or school is more important because that is more prevalent here. Now, Mahayana also has now again another two branches. One is Yogachar Vigyanvad. So this is one branch. It says only consciousness is real. This is what Yogachar Vigyanvad says. External world is a projection of consciousness. Then Alay Vigyan, that is storehouse of consciousness, contains karmic imprints. Then three levels of reality is there: Parikalpit, Paratantra, and Parinispanna. That is imaginary, dependent, and absolute. This is Yogachar Vigyanavad says. And then there is another, basically school or sub-school of Mahayana. Mahayana has Yogachar Vigyanvad, and second Mahayana school is Madhyamik. That is Shunyavad. This is founded by Nagarjuna. So here, what he says, all phenomena are empty of Swabhava. This first point he says. Second, two truths are there: Smriti Satya, Samrit Satya, and Paramarth Satya. Samrit Satya is conventional reality, Paramarth Satya is ultimate truth. Sunyata is, then he has also given the doctrine of Sunyata. Sunyata is not nihilism, but transcendental non-duality. So this is what Nagarjuna says. Then use of tetralema, that is Chatuskoti, neither A nor not A, nor both, nor neither. So this is another four-step logic which he has given. So tetralema, Chatuskoti. So this is part of Madhyamik Sunyavad, founded by Nagarjuna. This is a branch of Mahayana. Now, another theory or another topic, subtopic of Buddhism is Nirvana. That is final goal. Nirvana is the cessation of suffering, that already has been told, and cycle of rebirth. Because after Nirvana, there is no rebirth. It means extinguishing of passion, that is Raga, Dvesh, Moha. So all passions extinguishes at the time of Nirvana. It has two forms basically. Nirvana has two forms. First is Upadhi Sesa Nirvana, that is with remainder while alive. One gets Nirvana. Then Anupadhi Sesa Nirvana, that is without remember, that is after death one gets Nirvana. So these are two basically forms of Nirvana. Then described both negatively and positively. Nirvana is described both negatively and positively. Negatively and positively means basically negatively it's a cessation of suffering and this thing, and positively it's a state of bliss, state of calm, state of freedom. Now for Nirvana, their Mahayana view is a little different again. Sansara and Nirvana are non-dual. Realization of emptiness leads to liberation. Realization of both Pudgala, Naratma, that is non-self of person, and Dharma Narmat, that is non-self of phenomena, is essential. So this is what Mahayana view of Nirvana. Then the Buddhism also talks about karma and rebirth without a soul, because as we have seen, soul is a bundle of 5 skandhas only, and there is no permanent soul. That's what Buddhism doctrine is. So what Buddhism says, no transmigration of an eternal self happens here. Rebirth is casual, like one flame lighting another. This is what the concept of rebirth they have given. Third is continuity is in the stream of consciousness and not in substance. That's what again earlier also we were saying, that substance is not continuous, but only consciousness is continuous. That it ensures ethical accountability through continuity of consciousness and not permanence. So this is basically karma and rebirth theory of Buddhism. Now, epistemology, what is epistemology of Buddhism? Let us see that. Buddhism accepts pratyaksha, that is perception, anuman, that is inference, as valid pramanas. So this is accepted by Buddhism. Now critiques dogmatic metaphysics as unhelpful for liberation. So basically, Buddhism criticizes dogmatic metaphysics and says that it is unhelpful for liberation. So therefore, they don't believe in that. Buddhism again emphasizes on experiential knowledge and meditative insight, that is pragya. So this is basically epistemology in brief of Buddhism. Buddhism, as we have seen, doesn't much puts a stress on epistemology, rather than it's more metaphysical and soteriological kind of system of Indian philosophy. Now let us see what are the critical points, critical evaluation of Buddhism. What are the strengths and what are criticism? Now in strengths, if we see, it is very profound ethical emphasis and psychological insight. Now, doctrine of Pratyut Samutpad particularly anticipates modern process philosophy. So, modern process philosophy and Pratyut Samutpad are in a way, some similarities are there, which we will see subsequently. We'll see it definitely. Now, what are its criticism? Origin of ignorance not explained. How avidya or ignorance basically originates is not explained. Memory and moral continuity need philosophical grounding. So this is again a very weak point here, because they don't have permanent self. So memory and moral continuity both are a little debatable point as far as Buddhism is concerned, because they say there is a stream of consciousness and no substance permanence is there. Then third point is possible contradiction in denying self yet maintaining rebirth. So on Buddhism, on the one hand, they deny self, still they maintain rebirth. So this is again a contradictory thing basically in Buddhism. Now, in concluding remarks or conclusion, Buddhism is a very pragmatic, ethically grounded metaphysical system, very important actually. Its emphasis on interdependence, impermanence, and non-self reshaped Indian philosophy and provided a humanistic model of spiritual liberation. Its rich school-based development, Vaibhasik, Sautantric, Yogacharya, and Madhyamika represents deep internal dialogues within Buddhist fold itself, because this is one philosophical system which has so many branches and so many discussions, so many differences also. Now, important points in this is Pratyut Samutpad, Sunyata, and Naratmavad. We'll see those things, but this Buddhism has also discourse between Buddhism and Vedantins also is there, plus Buddhism and Jaina theory. So it has impacted. There has been cross fertilization also, because Vedanta or Indian other philosophical systems have also impacted Buddhism, but Buddhism has also in turn impacted them. So this is what we can say in the conclusion. Now, as I told, one or two topics we will take up today in detail, and balance we will take up next week. So today we are going to take up Pratyut Samutpad or dependent origination. In brief, we have already seen. So here we will discuss in detail, because this is very, very important topic. As we have already seen in last 12 years, more than 7 times it has been asked in different formats. So as has already been explained, Pratyut Samutpad is a Sanskrit word basically, and in Pali, Patich Samutpad is in Pali, and it literal meaning is dependent origination. So this being that follows. So this is what it means. So it explains the arising of dukkha through conditioned phenomena and offers a middle path between eternalism and nihilism. So Saswatvad and Uchedvad, already we have seen it offers a middle path, because it neither claims permanence nor claims non-existence. So basically, it is in between. Now, what has been stated in Buddhism, when this is, that is, from the arising of this, that arises. When this is not, that is not. From the cessation of this, that ceases. So this is basically stated in Majjhima Nikaya. So this is a Buddhist scripture. In that it has been mentioned, and this is actually they are explaining basically Pratyut Samutpad in this sentence. Even this is, that is, from the arising of this, that arises. When this is not, that is not. From the cessation of this, that ceases. So actually, if you remember, four noble truths also are dependent on this, because uh, there is dukkha, then there is a reason for dukkha, then there is cessation, then so all those things are also mentioned here. So Pratyut Samutpad, as is already told, is the basis of all other Buddha philosophy. So this is mentioned in the Majjhima Nikaya by Buddha himself. So again, another point has been mentioned. He who sees Pratyut Samutpad sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees me. So this is again a statement from Buddha. So this also has been mentioned in that. Now, what is etymology? I mean, what is the literal meaning of this? So Pratyut means depending upon. Samutpad means arising or origination. So this is the literal meaning of these two words, depending upon and arising or origination. Now, what are the key translations of this? One is dependent origination. Second is interdependent arising. Third is conditioned genesis. So all three are by different uh, philosophers, different critics. It has been translated basically. One says dependent origination, another says interdependent arising, another says conditioned genesis. These translations reflect the relational and process-oriented ontology of Buddhism. Now, what are its philosophical dimensions? Let us see that. Philosophical dimensions earlier also we have seen in brief, but let us in detail, let us see here. Now, through ontological dimensions, that is metaphysical dimension of Pratyut Samutpad. Peter Harvey is one of the modern philosophers and commentator. He interprets Pratyut Samutpad as an ontological principle rejecting a creator deity, an eternal unchanging Atma, that is self, and any uncaused or self-subsisting entity. So this is the three conclusions he has derived from Pratyut Samutpad. What are the three? Again, I will read. It rejects, that is, Pratyut Samutpad rejects a creator deity, then an eternal unchanging self, and any uncaused or self-subsisting entity. So all three is rejected by Pratyut Samutpad. Instead, all dharmas, that is, all phenomena, are seen as nihasvabhava, that is, lacking inherent nature, impermanent, and dependently co-arising. So this is the meaning of Pratyut Samutpad given by Peter Harvey, because he has come out that Pratyut Samutpad and an ontological principle means this. So what is its epistemological dimension? Let us see that. Then again, another modern critic or philosopher, Stephen Lomkis, views it as a cognitive lens through which human misconception, that is, belief in a permanent self, can be overcome. According to him, identity is a construct formed by five skandhas, conditioned by contact, memory, and attachment. So this is what is epistemological dimension of this Pratyut Samutpad. Now, what is psychological interpretation? Another psychologist, basically, of 20th century, 21st century psychologist, Aviator Schulman, he offers a compelling view that Pratyut Samutpad is primarily psychological, not cosmological. It describes how subjectivity and ego arises from internal conditioning rather than external metaphysical truths. So this is psychological interpretation. Then another view, phenomenological view. Let us see what is the phenomenological view of the Pratyut Samutpad. Again, this again another 21st century philosopher, Noah Ronkin, interprets the doctrine phenomenologically, focusing on lived experience and perceptual immediacy. So this is again a relation, I mean, interpretation with applying phenomenology. Instead of speculating an absolute reality, or instead of speculating on absolute realities, early Buddhism examined the structure of experience to reveal its conditioned and transient nature. So here again, conditioned and transient nature has been emphasized. Now, what are the 12 Nidanas? Because this earlier also we were seeing the 12 Nidanas or Dwadas Nidana, because this is again important. These 12 causal links, because the questions are asked separately also on these 12 Nidanas, and this is very important. So these 12 causal links explain the cyclic continuity of suffering, samsara. That is cyclic continuity of suffering. Now, what are these 12 causal links? First is avidya, that is ignorance. Second is samskara, that is volitional formation. Third is vijnana, that is consciousness. Fourth is nam roop, name and form. Fifth is sadayatana, that is sixth sense basis. Sixth is spurse, that is contact. Then vedana, feeling. Trishna, carving. Upadan, clinging. Bhava, becoming. Jati, birth. Then 12th is jara maran, that is old age and death. So these are basically 12 Dwadas Nidana, 12 causal links. Now, which explain the continuity of suffering. Now, how this is again, let us see traditional interpretation. What are for this 12 Nidanas? First is 3 lives. I mean, these 12 are related to 3 lives. We'll see like how. See, past life 1 and 2 is related. What is 1 and 2? If you see avidya and sanskara, these are related to past life. Then 3 to 10, that is vijnana, namarupa, sadayatana, sparsha, vedana, trishna, upadan, and bhava. That is 3 to 10 are related with present life. So this is present, this is past. And then 11 and 12, that is birth and jara marana, that is death. These are related to future life, old age and death. So this is also related to future. So this is what they have described in Buddha Ghosa. Then another description is the chain is cyclical and breaking it through wisdom leads to nirvana. So this is another interpretation. The cyclical chain has to be broken through wisdom, and then one attains the nirvana. Now, what are the school-wise interpretations of this Pratyut Samutpad? Let us see that also. Now, Hinayana Theravada, or Theravada or Hinayana is same thing. Now, key thinker is Buddha Ghosha. Now, he has interpreted it means temporal realism. Links represent real sequential mental and physical events. So this is interpretation of this Dwadas Nidana by Theravada. Then Yogachar Vigyanvad, Asanga and Vasubandhu, the two thinkers, what they have interpreted as idealism, external world is a projection of consciousness. So this is what they have interpreted. Then Madhyamika, that is Sunyavad, that is Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, what they have explained. This represents radical relativism. Swabhava is denied. Reality is Sunya, that is empty of inherent nature. So these 3 kinds of interpretation of this Dwadas Nidana is there as far as 3 schools of Buddhism are concerned. Now, what Nagarjuna says, whatever is dependently originated, that is emptiness. This is a statement from Nagarjuna. Chandrakirti, relational dependence is the reason why nothing exists inherently. Then, so after explaining or after understanding, because main doctrine is that one thing originates from other. And there are 12 interconnected originates, because basically if you see cyclic links, causal links, one after the other. Now, what is the critical evaluation of this? What are the strengths of this doctrine? It unifies Buddhist metaphysics, psychology, and soteriology. It provides a non-theistic and process-based explanation of existence. It avoids metaphysical dogmatism and grounding philosophy in experience and analysis. So these are the basic strengths of this doctrine. But then there are some problems also, and key criticisms also. So if you see origin of avidya, how avidya originates, the root cause of ignorance is not clearly explained, raising a circular dilemma. How can ignorance arise without proper condition? So on the one hand, Buddhism says everything arises from previous one, but there is nothing previous to avidya to arise in 12 causal links. If you see, avidya is first step in that. Now, 12 nidana sequence is again scholars like Johannes Bronkhorst argue the sequence may be a later construct. What he says that it may be a later construct influenced by Vedic cosmology. So, impact. What he says that impact of Buddhism of Vedic philosophy or Vedic cosmogonies. Because of that, this 12 Nidanas concept has come, and this may not be original Buddha concept. Then third criticism is satirical nature. That is, mirroring of an early Vedic creation myths may have been polemical or satirical, aimed at circuiting the Hindu metaphysics. So again, for critiquing the Hindu metaphysics, this thing has been brought in, and it's not a original Buddha doctrine. That's what the critics has been saying. Then doctrinal overload. Later Mahayana reinterpretations, Yogacharya and Madhyamika diverge significantly from early formulations, complicating a unified understanding. So as you see, different branches of Buddhism have, total different kind of interpretation. So there is no similarity, or there is no linkage between their interpretation also. So this is again a problem as far as uh, internal differences in Buddhism also is concerned. Now, what are the comparative Western perspectives? That also let us see. David Hume, his casualty is habitual, not inherent, parallels Buddhist Niswabhavad. So this is one similarity from Buddhism and David Hume. Immanuel Kant, knowledge is conditioned by perception, echoes epistemic conditionality. So this is another similarity with Immanuel Kant. Schopenhauer, suffering arises from blind will, akin to Trishna. So then Field, Nagarjuna's logic mirrors Kantian transcendental idealism. So this is what Field has found. Then Stephen Collins, Anatta doctrine, that is Hume's bundle theory of self, are in a way same. Then what are the similarities with Pyrrhonism? Let us see that also. Classical Pyrrhonism exhibits epistemic suspension, rejecting dogmatic assertions, an approach comparable to Buddhism or Buddhist Mahayana Pratipad, middle path, Buddhist Madhyam Pratipad, that is middle path. The anonymous commentary on Plato's Theaetetus also echoes Buddhist ideas of non-substantiality and interdependence. So basically, partly if we see in early Greek philosophy also, we find some comparison or some similarity with Buddhism. Now, evolution of doctrine of Pratyut Samutpad, how it has evaluated, that also let us see. Now, derived concepts, karma, Kshanikvad, Naratmavad, Sunyavad. So all these are basically how they are related to Pratyut Samutpad. That also we should see, because Pratyut Samutpad, as I already told earlier, is basis of almost all the doctrines of Buddhism. So karma, moral causality, follows the same dependent structure. Then Kshanikvad, momentariness, all dharmas arise and perish instantly. Naratmavad, no permanent self exists in this causal chain. Then Sunyatvad, emptiness is the metaphysical implication of conditionality. So if you see, all are in a way related or dependent on Pratyut Samutpad. Then another Sanghatvad is there, aggregation theory. The self is merely a composite. So this is again dependent on that. And how this doctrine or one after the other has linked in Buddhism or evolving from one other. See, Pratyut Samutpad leads to Anityavad. Anityavad leads to Chanikvad. Chanikvad leads to Naratmavad. Naratmavad leads to Sunyavad. So all these doctrines are basically related to each other. So one leads to other. So this is again a very important thing. Now, what is this soteriological relevance of Pratyut Samutpad? Let us understand that also. The 12 links, casual links we have seen already, are graphically represented in Bhav Chakra. Bhav Chakra is wheel of becoming. Liberation is attained by breaking the chain at key points, especially avidya or trishna. So this aligns the second noble truth, that is cause of suffering, and third noble truth, that is cessation of suffering. As I already told, a Pratyut Samutpad is also having soteriological relevance, because it also states in a way second noble truth and also third noble truth. Now, what is the solution of obtaining this thing? Practice the noble eightfold path. So that is again how to obtain the liberation. Then right view to right concentration, leading to cessation of conditioned existence. Now let us see what is the concluding remarks as far as Pratyut Samutpad is concerned. This remains one of the most profound and integrative doctrine of Buddhism. This anyway to be the basis of all other doctrines basically. And it is not merely a metaphysical or psychological theory, but a comprehensive framework. That also we have seen. It unifies causality, phenomenology, ethics, and liberation. Then one thinker, K.N. Jay Tilke, he stated that this doctrine together, ties together the empirical, epistemological, and soteriological threads of Buddhism. So basically, it's epistemology and empirical as well as soteriological. Or soteriological means the process of attaining moksha or liberation is soteriology basically. So that to that sense we should understand. It offers a vision of reality where freedom is found not in metaphysical assertion but in penetrative insight, that is vipassana, into the impermanence and interdependence of all phenomena. So this is basically concluding remarks as far as Buddhism is concerned, Pratyut Samutpad is concerned. Now, this week we will have this much only. Next week we will continue the part 2 of Buddhism, and we will also take up the Buddhism questions also next week, because this week only we have gone through Jainism question model answer of Saptavangine, and also Buddhism. Briefly, we have seen what are the various doctrines of Buddhism, and Pratyut Samutpad we have gone in detail. Next week, we will take up another 3-4 doctrines of Buddhism in detail, and then we will take up the model questions, etc. of Buddhism. So that's what we are going to do next week. So this is all I want to say. Thanks a lot for joining today. Next week again we will meet and we will see continue the Buddhism next week, Buddhism part 2. Thank you everybody.